guys, welcome back. Today I wanted to do a fall inspired look, so I've decided to kind of go through some of the palettes that I have kind of laying around, and I found some shades that are kind of mustard tones. I was kind of inspired by that, being that it's fall, it's getting kind of cold out, leaves are changing. But today I'm going to go ahead and mix two foundations. One from the drugstore, it's the L'Oreal Infallible. So I'm going to actually mix that with a little bit of my everyday. I love this because this has the SPF 50, which where I live, there's sun all the time. So for me, I think this is a great way to get that SPF if you don't already have it in a moisturizer. And then as far as the eyes go, I think I'm not quite sure how dramatic I'm going to do it. I might start off kind of a little bit more soft and then build up to something a little bit more dramatic, but using mustard tones, and I'm even thinking possibly some warm browns that might feel a little bit more like a paprika shade, kind of like chili, that kind of stuff. So that's where we're at. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of just see where this takes us. I feel like a mustard is not an eyeshadow that most people will gravitate towards. As long as your skin looks nice and you kind of get everything kind of even and spots kind of concealed, I feel like you can kind of play around with those shadows that might be a little bit different from your everyday. I already prepped my skin with a little bit of an oil. I'm actually taking a small amount of the Infallible, about a half pump of the It Cosmetics. I'm going to mix those two together. I feel like this will give me a semi-matte kind of finish. I feel like in the winter is when people end up kind of gravitating towards more of a matte finish with their foundation. Have you guys tried any of the drugstore foundations recently? I discovered Infallible right when it first came out, and I was actually pretty impressed. I would say it's comparable to Studio Fix Fluid from MAC. And I'm just buffing this. If you wanted this fuller coverage, then you could go in with a flat brush, a paddle brush, or go in with a sponge. I like this little buffing brush because for me, it gives me a nice amount of coverage, but also not super full. But this is actually kind of a nice mix. I am actually going to take a little bit on the eyes because I'm not using an eyeshadow primer. I got these earrings from my brother-in-law. He actually always finds me the prettiest earrings for the holidays. So this is an Anthropologie buy. I thought they were kind of fun. So I'm just taking my time and just working around the edges. I'm going to do a tiny bit of the It Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye. And they have two formulas. This is their original. A little goes a long way. I mean, this is probably even too much, but this actually is really nice and creamy in consistency. And I actually kind of like to go in with my finger first and just kind of push it in, get into that little corner. I always find that's an area that needs to be brightened. Definitely get in there with whatever your concealer is and kind of brighten that. Just taking a little bit. These guys also have an illuminating formula, which is kind of nice. So if you just kind of want to blur your fine lines, it's kind of got this more illuminating effect. Again, I like with my concealer to kind of take a little bit kind of through the center. I always have those broken capillaries. Anywhere where you feel like you have little spots that you might need some extra brightening. I'm going to go in and do my eyebrows. This one is by e.l.f. I actually feel like they've got pretty good brow products, but I also like the ones by NYX. For me, I just really like to kind of start right underneath here, and I kind of brush as I go right up above here just to kind of enhance the arch a bit. I've been using Relatable to try and get my brows a little fuller, and I feel like it's doing a pretty good job. Lighten your pressure when you want it a little softer. I mean, they're never going to match fully without it. I feel like sometimes feeling like you really worked the brow too much. It's kind of first individually filling in those spots and then kind of seeing where you can kind of manipulate the shapes. So all the shadows that I'm using today are by Geek. I have a bunch of different colors. This is called desert sands, and I'm using just like a flat, kind of stiffer brush. And right now I'm just focusing this on my lid. I kind of want this to be the lid color and then go in and kind of shade with some warmer tones I was talking about. It's okay to kind of pull this up a little bit higher if you have a little bit more of a hooded eye like I do. I do want you to kind of see this, this color a little bit. So just kind of pat your shape and create your shape a little bit just by kind of pushing. Again, doesn't have to be perfect because we will go in and blend this out. But I do want it pretty concentrated. So I'm just kind of like layering this on. Next, I'm going to go ahead and take just kind of a soft transition color, nothing that is going to change the look of this too much. The brown that I'm using is called Creme Brulee, but it's just like a really soft brown. And I'm just using a little MAC Fluffy 224. And then just right up above where we've taken the mustard tone, I'm just taking that and just kind of buffing that right along the edge. And then I'm actually going to bring this right up underneath the brow. Right now I'm not really worried about getting a highlight. I kind of actually don't want much of a highlight with this look. So just softly just kind of buffing that right where the edge is with the desert sand shade, the first shade. Okay, so just softly blending the two edges together here. The key is just lots of blending when you're using multiple eyeshadows, unless you want like a specific cut crease look, which is fun, but I kind of like things when they're really softly blended out and everything just has a nice kind of fade into the next. Go in with, I think, a little bit more of like that paprika shade I was talking about, something a little bit more chilly, definitely a reddish brown. This one is called Cocoa Bear, and I'm going to take a smaller brush here because this is going to be more of in a specific spot. I'm just taking almost like a pencil brush. I'm just going to lay this kind of on this outer edge, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Create the shape that you're wanting here, placing it, kind of want it in that little outer corner. Work it like you would like your liner right here, and then push it kind of in that little crevice. Pull this up a bit because I do want a little bit more of a wing shape here, a lifted effect. I'm going to take a fluffy brush that has nothing in it. It's a little bit smaller, and I just want to softly blend that. Move on to the next. Okay, now that you kind of have that placed where you want it, and you kind of see the shape and it's starting to kind of take form, I'll go in with that little fluffy brush, and I'm just going to go in and intensify that little outer corner even more. Little small circular buffing motions. If you want like a super crisp, clean edge, you can always do a little bit of tape right on the edge and on the corner, but I don't really do that with my makeup. I think that's kind of up to you. How perfect do you want it? I kind of like my makeup to have a little bit of an imperfect kind of feel. I feel like it just makes it feel a little bit more relatable. One more little layer of the mustard shade, because a lot of times when you blend, you kind of soften those first shades that you lay down. So it's nice to go in and do layers. And then I'm going to go in and do a little bit of an eyeliner underneath. I'm going to do that in just a second. This is NYX, just their eye and eyebrow pencil, and the color is dark brown. I find that their pencils are reasonable and a nice quality. So this is just going to give additional definition to the look. Definitely make sure you have enough on that outer corner, kind of making that a little thicker on the end, and then just really lightly and kind of thinner towards the inside. And then I'm going to just take a little flat brush and buff that out. Okay, and then for underneath, I think what I'm going to do is, I'm going to wipe this out. I'm going to take that little pencil brush and I'm going to dip that into the mustard shade. I'm actually going to do this a little thicker kind of really like blend it and blow it out. Sometimes I'll even just close my eye and just run this all underneath. The reddish one that I did as well with that small little brush. This is a flat little detailer brush, and I'm just going to do it kind of just 2/3, kind of keeping all of the depth on the outside. Just blend that all out. So if you wanted to make this look a little bit more dramatic, you could take this pencil and do the inner rim. I'll do it. What the heck, why not? This is, I think, definitely a fun fall kind of inspired look. Drugstore find recently is the Voluminous Lash Paradise by L'Oreal. And then I'm going to come and kind of finish and detail the skin up a little bit. For my lips too, today I'm going to do something a little bit more on the matte side. I'm going to go in and take my complexion sponge. This one I got from Ulta a while ago. It was like a pack of 2, and they're like a little bit smaller. I'm just going to go in and just kind of make sure everything's kind of pressed in from before, because this is definitely a more slightly matte kind of finish to the skin. I'll go in and do maybe a little bit of powder too, just to kind of set my under eye concealer right around my nose. I mainly powder through the center of my face just to kind of keep everything from getting like too shiny. I'm not going to do bronzer. I'm going to use a couple different blushes that are kind of brown. I'm going to go ahead and use, this first shade is called Harmony by MAC. It's more matte. And it's just kind of like this neutral kind of brown, kind of on the apples, and then kind of a little bit into my cheekbone. I do like to hit a little bit on my chin and then the nose. And then I am a big fan of layering blushes. I feel like you just get a little bit better dimension with it. This one is Sweet as Cocoa. I know MAC is reformulating quite a bit, and if you have favorite products from them, I would purchase it, because I don't really know what's coming, what's staying, what's going. I'm sure they're going to be reformulating new products as well, which, I mean, that's never a bad thing. I feel like things get reformulated for a reason, maybe because they found a better pigment or different formula. This definitely has kind of more of like a bronzy, rosy kind of shade. And then I'm going to go in and do a little tiny bit of a highlight on the top of the cheekbone. This is BOBBI Brown. I am using the Pink Glow highlighter. Just to add a little dimension. This is Velvet Teddy from MAC. It's a matte lipstick, definitely on the kind of a brown side. And then I'm going to use STRIPDOWN for the lip pencil just to give a little bit more shape to my lips. I kind of do just a little through the Cupid's bow, and I don't have a pronounced one, so I just kind of follow right along. I don't mind overdrawing the bottom a little bit. Do quite a bit of Fix Plus because I do feel dry. I'm going to take my complexion sponge and kind of push that all in. Sometimes it's nice to have little Q-tips on hand, and then there's any little edges that you feel like you just want to clean up. This is the look. What do you think? Let me know if you guys have questions, if you've tried any of these products before, if you've experienced the eyeshadows from Makeup Geek, if you've even heard of them. I heard of them through just watching a couple people on YouTube years back, and I gotta say, I like the quality of their shadows, and the price point's pretty good too. Let me know if you have favorite drugstore foundations that you like. Anything that's maybe a little bit more on the semi-matte kind of finish. Going into winter, it is kind of fun to switch up the finish of your foundation. Just let me know if you like the video overall. Thanks for watching, you guys. Subscribe, like, hit that bell, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.